All right, how to begin. Exactly. That is the subject here. How do we start speeches? And so we have a little lecture here on how to go ahead and introduce your speech, how to put together a speech introduction. And these are the sort of classic parts of an introduction that you can put into almost any speech, actually, if you want to. But certainly they are very appropriate for like informative speeches and persuasive speeches. So let's see what we've got. Well, to start with, like a question that comes up is what is the audience thinking about at the very beginning of your speech? And typically they are not focused on you or your subject. They're thinking about other stuff. And so we'd like to start off with an attention getter, which your English professors may call a hook. This is a way to grab people's attention and get them interested and bring them into your world because they're probably thinking about the test they just took or the text they just received or whatever else is going on in their lives. So this is to bring them into the to your world. And for this, you can include things like stories, riddles, rhymes, sight gags. You can also just talk about your topic without giving it away. So, for example, you could say, today I'm going to tell you about a sport that's played all over the world. And that sport is a favorite sport of the character Forrest Gump in the Academy Award-winning film Forrest Gump. It is also a favorite sport of the Timothy Chalamet character in the recent film Marty Supreme. It can be played indoors and outdoors, at night, during the day, by young and old, and there are very few injuries to this sport. The sport I'm talking about is ping pong, also known in certain circles as table tennis. So that's a good example of something where, you could talk about the subject without giving it away. We have here a picture of Gene Simmons from Kiss. His band was not getting enough attention, so they started dressing up to get people's attention. But like a photo like this might grab people, for example, if you can make it relevant to the speech. Also, with the attention getter, if you have a particular talent, this is a place where you can take advantage of it. You can, for example, I had a student once that knew how to play guitar, so she changed the lyrics to her to a song by Taylor Swift, and then played it back to us and changed the lyrics to her subject matter, which was the mating rituals of tree frogs. So that's always that was a good one. After that, you're going to have your definition of topic. This is because a lot of times you might have some audience members who don't know what your topic is, so you might have to define it for them. And so one of the things you can do is offer up just like a short definition, a dictionary style definition. So for example, you might say, like let's say hypothetically you're a nursing student and you're giving a speech about acetaminophen. You might say acetaminophen is an aspirin-free pain reliever that also reduces fevers and is often marketed as Tylenol and is called paracetamol in the United Kingdom. So just like a brief definition. Now, once you get that definition out of the way, the next part is the reason to listen. There's two ways to do the reason to listen. One is you could have a practical reason. So, for example, one time I had a student that gave a speech about how to change a flat tire in a car. And basically, what she said was, "Oh, now I know a lot of you don't have a car, but you might find yourself passengers in a car. You might find that your Uber driver doesn't know how to change a flat tire, and you have a flat tire, and you're outside of the range of, a mechanic, and or maybe the mechanics are all busy that night." And so today I'm going to teach you how to actually put the flat tire that, the spare tire from the trunk of the car in and install it on the car so you can drive home. So that's a practical thing. Sometimes you can also talk about how widespread something is. So for example, I once had a student that gave a speech about soccer, and she mentioned at this point that soccer is the most popular sport in the world. So not that we would all necessarily become big soccer fans, but just the idea that that soccer might be something, that's so widespread and so popular that people might be interested in learning a little bit more about it. Another way to emphasize the reason to listen is to let people know uh, that the topic is up and coming, perhaps. So, or it's currently a big deal. So, for example, you might say, for example, like Bad Bunny is the biggest musical artist right now in the world, if you were giving a speech. And he happened to be the biggest artist, which at the time of this recording, he is. Yeah, so those are your reasons to listen. Let's see. Let's go to the statement of expertise is the next part of the introduction. This is where you let the audience know why they should come to you. You're sort of trying to establish your credibility with the audience. And basically with this, what you do is one thing is you can just tell your connection to the topic. So, for example, if you're giving a speech about basketball and you're on the basketball team at City College of San Francisco, this is where you would let us know about your affiliation. If you were giving a speech on a medical topic and you're a nursing student or studying to be a doctor, this is where you might let us know about your major. If you're giving a speech about Brazil and you're from Brazil, this is where you might let us know about your Brazilian background. Um, if you're not connected with the topic, you can still give a speech about it. You just emphasize your expertise by talking about how you've read about it. So, for example, if you're giving a speech about LeBron James, or let's say hypothetically you're giving a speech about being an astronaut and you've never been to the moon, you're not on the moon, um, et cetera, you can have a source citation from Science Magazine or Scientific American about astronauts or space travel as a way to establish. Or if you were giving a speech about LeBron James, you might say, according to the January 1st, 2026 issue of Sports Illustrated magazine, LeBron James is the number one scoring athlete of all time in the area of basketball, even more than Michael Jordan. And so there, the emphasis on the Sports Illustrated magazine is the way that we're sort of establishing our credibility. After the statement of expertise, we have the central idea, also known as the thesis. And the central idea is a short sentence with no commas or conjunctions that lets the audience know that what the theme is for the whole speech, like what's the whole main point of the speech. And shortly after the thesis, we have the central idea. We have the preview. The preview is a listing of the main points of the speech. And basically, you're just listing the main points in the order that you're going to be covering them. It's sort of a forecast. So, for example, if you're giving a speech about Malcolm X, you might have a first main point about uh, Red the drug dealer. You might have a second main point about Malcolm X's time in prison and his discovery of Islam. And then finally, you might have a third main point about Malcolm X and his time as the leader of the Nation of Islam and his subsequent uh, trip to Mecca. So just sort of like previewing for people the main points and then letting them know that you're going to have those main points. And that's the introduction. So those are the parts that you want to put in there. Not all the parts are necessarily in every speech, but like for an informative speech or a persuasive speech, you can usually put all those in there and it works pretty well. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a excellent speech and that the introduction is really successful. Take care.